Ah, yes, what a vacation paradise. And what a sight for the first race of the season. Or wait a minute, is it the last race of the season? Well, it's tricky, but basically, this year's first points race was last November's party at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. And what a day for racing. No complaints about boring heats here. Perfect conditions, fast boats, close finishes, the name of the game.
They're heading down now on the final straight. Tom Deeth looks and sees the checkered flag, ready to wave. George Woods trying to find the power, but George Woods, just a little bit too much too late.
The final race, on the other hand, was not close. The Winston Eagles' day-long starting problems finally got the best of them. They left the Budweiser to battle the Ovoy Alberto, but it really wasn't a battle at all. The beer boat left the sausage in its wake, running away with the first URC event ever run outside North America. Now it's 1991. It's Detroit, Michigan, and it's the Gold Cup. A lot can happen between October and June, and in this case, it's musical boats. Almost every hydro has a new driver, most notably Scotty Pierce taking over the Miss Bud, while Tom Deeth recovers from this. Charlotte, North Carolina. Watch the middle of your screen. Deeth, running the pavement, has no place to go but through the number 84 car. He suffered a fractured vertebrae and is out for the season. On the water, it was a day of mistakes. The Edge boat can't keep its top on tight. The Winston Eagle flips its lid. And the Bud sits floundering before the first all-turbine final in history. Scotty Pierce did restart, then he jumped the gun. That's a no-no and a lap penalty. Meantime, the Winston Eagle apparently runs just as well without a cowling and without the Bud to worry about. It's a fairy tale finish.
He is a hometown driver from the Detroit area. Mark Tate wins for the first time ever a championship heat in the unlimited hydroplanes, and needless to say, his dream has come true. He has won the unlimited Gold Cup.
Stop number 3, the Thunder on the Ohio, Evansville, and the first flag start in recent hydro history. The format makes for great excitement and super starts. No chance to jump the gun, and that was just fine with Pierce and the Bud, who cruised to a first heat win, despite leaving part of the boat in the river. 80,000 sun-baked fans then watched the Bud and the Winston Eagle battle in the final.
Now in lap number 4, it was a 4-mile-an-hour difference between the Miss Budweiser and the Winston Eagle. Winston Eagle actually was riding in second place, 4 miles an hour faster. Will it make a difference? They're into the final turn on the course here in Evansville, Indiana. Checkered flag time. Let's watch as they come down for the finish. Scotty Pierce finds a little bit more power. Mark Tate trying to catch him on the outside, but it's checkered flag time for Scott Pierce in the Miss Budweiser. Winston Eagle finishes second.
Hydro racing in Madison, Indiana isn't a sport, it's a tradition. Their first race was in 1911. And how many towns can boast owning an unlimited hydroplane? Madison can, but it's been 20 years since their native son crossed the hometown finish line first. And it probably wasn't in the cards today. The Bud and the Winston are clearly the class of the field, but they're also clearly too close together. Somewhere in that flying mist, they tangle. Parts fly from the Bud. The Winston is penalized, and that leaves the American Spirit to battle the Miss Madison.
Here's your winner. This is the American Spirit, Mark Evans. Look at him in the cockpit reacting with the waves to the crowd, bobbing his head back and forth. What a finish for this crew. Second place and a big cheer from the crowd for Mike Hansen in the Valvoline Miss Madison.
Could it happen twice in 2 weeks? The Tri-Cities is a long way from Indiana, but not far enough for Scotty Pierce. This is the damage. And here is the culprit. For the second straight race, Mark Tate in the Winston Eagle crashes into the Miss Bud, and the beer boat is the loser. It took every piece of tape on the Columbia to patch it back together. But the second heat fender bender was nothing compared to this. Fourth lap of the 5-lap final. Mike Hansen's Kellogg's Frosted Flakes boat goes airborne. The boat suffers major damage. Hansen just minor aches and pains. But It was enough to stop the race. And the Winston Eagle was declared the winner. And the Budweiser camp, they could not believe it.
They penalized him one lap for bearing out on you, fined him $300, and that's ridiculous. Well, he's just having trouble controlling the boat. That's, you know, he took the sight out of us in Indiana. He hooked the boat up there. He hooked it again here. So something's got to be done about it.
Well, we had lane 2 in the draw, but by the time we got it into the boat, they decided we had lane 3. I mean, the referees told me, no, you don't have 2, you have 3. He's got 2. So that ain't enough that they run over the back of the boat and take it out of the race. You figured it out.
All right, we've got boats on the course and moving. And, of course, what they're doing now is bunching up. We do not have a 1-minute gun, and we do not have a countdown to the start. We're inside, however, the white flag lap, which is the equivalent of the 1-minute gun. The boats will bunch up. The outside boat is going to be the pace boat, if you will. The boats are going to be requested to get in line. And because of the roughness of the water chip, they're going to let them go the first time around.
They do. The more they stay out there, the more they chop up what otherwise is absolutely beautiful water conditions. They're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they're anywhere close to lined up, they're going to let them fly.
All right, we have a white flag out, and the boats will come down now, and we'll see if we get a green.
Not lined up well at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And I'm glad they didn't let that go, because it certainly wouldn't have been a fair start. I'm sure this next time they're going to let them by. They just don't want to get that south turn just turned into a bathtub. They want it to be as smooth as possible. So the edge boat having a hard time staying up even at this pace lap speed. That's a problem.
That's correct. Of course, as the boats come to the line, they're supposed to come at about 110 miles an hour. And for most of these unlimited hydroplanes, that's just not fast enough to do much of anything. And then they have to hit the power curve and come up into the first turn. They are required to hold lane until they hit the entrance pin of the first corner. That's the green and yellow striped. And once they do that, if they have the requisite number of boat lengths, which is 5, they then can begin to do their lane shifting about. They're getting a little bit better alignment this time, and it looks like the edge Hunan Harbor is going to trail back. Unfortunately, not able to make the speed.
I think the official has got to, even if the edge can't get up there and make the start good. Well, there he is. He's getting up there, so it looks like it's going to be a really nice start. But even if it's not right up there on the line, I think they got to let him go this time.
Drivers would prefer to be going a lot faster and be choosing their lanes at this point, traditionally speaking. However, this is also the most picturesque kind of starting that you can see, in the fans around the country since it started at Evansville have loved it. I think we're going to get a start this time.
They look good.
If they come to the line, a good alignment.
Budweiser is sticking out a little bit. Everybody's a little anxious.
And they're racing on Lake Washington. The green flag is dropped, and the Winston Eagle leads them down into the first corner.
Got a really nice jump. I think Mark Tate was on the throttle maybe a second and a half quicker than the Budweiser, and in these kind of starts, that's everything.
There's the Winston now rocketing into that first turn with Miss Budweiser on the outside. Scotty Pierce giving chase. Doesn't like to be on the outside of the Winston. Winston has a little more horsepower advantage when she has that inside lane, but Scott's going to keep the hammer down. He's right in the rooster tail as he comes up alongside the Winston Eagle on the back chute.
Remember, these are 5-lap heats. Everywhere else in the country, they've been running 3 laps in the preliminary. So Scott Pierce has got plenty of time to run him down. Look at the American spirit. It is not being driven away from by any means.
Absolutely not. They're not running away from it, and the boat is handling well, in fact, on the inside lane. Okay, out of Terwoo, a nice hop for the Winston Eagle as she comes out of the upper corner with Scott Pierce right on the hip and giving chase. These two guys are not going to let go of each other all day. This is what the fans came to see. End of lap number 1. Winston Eagle comes across the line at 139 miles an hour at 136.5. It's the Budweiser, so you can see the speeds are very tight. 133.1 for the American Spirit. Down again into the lower corner. And once again, Scott Pierce is really flying the race boat through the corner, trying to catch the Winston Eagle. This is going to be tough for him to do, though.
Mike, this is going to go 5 laps. I don't think anybody's going to drive away. I'm afraid the Winston got a nice turn there, and Scott lost a little bit of ground. But, you know, 5 laps, anything can happen. All we need is Mark to hit a roller wrong, get the boat a little bit out of shape, and I think Scott's going to be right back in it.
And the boat is flying a little bit. It's getting a little bit loose. Let's watch as it comes through this north turn now, because the boat did hit a few rollers this time nice and smooth, and it's glued down beautifully. Scott stays on with the pressure, and so, might I add, does our friend Mark Evans. He is not lined up either. He's definitely in the back, in the rearview mirrors, and showing Scott that he's there.
You've got to be
number 2.
You got to be impressed with the American Spirit. Now, you're looking at 2 boats in front of him that are outspending him by millions, and these guys have done a great job. You know, I'm sure he's not using all he's got either. He's got to save some for the final. The other guys, they got plenty more stuff in the truck.
They're stepping up the speed, too. End of lap number 2 for the Winston was 144, 141 for the Budweiser, and 130 for the American.
American Spirit, the Pepsi American Spirit. Now they're stringing out a little bit. The time differential between these two race boats is not very much. In fact, it's 3.09 seconds, and as a result, you're talking about in the neighborhood of about 900-foot difference, but they can make that up in just a matter of a tick of the clock. Little traffic now as we come through the north corner. The Winston Eagle comes off the corner and is going to have to ride a little bit of a slop and some wakes, as well as negotiate past at the start and finish line the Edge Hunan Harbor, and she does so very nicely, as does Scotty Pierce. Into lap number 3, 141.4 for the Winston, 139.2 for Scott. Now, this is a point in time that Scott has decided to let the Winston take this one.
I think so. What's happened is I think Mark got on the throttle before Scott did, and Scott had a further way to go. I think the performance of the two boats is very equal, and I'm impressed with the Budweiser's boat ride. As you know, I expressed a little concern that wouldn't handle the rough water. It seems to be handling every bit as well as the Winston. If the lanes were reversed, Scott might have got on the throttle a little bit earlier. I think you might see a little different result.
And they have been seen putting a little weight in the nose of that Budweiser. I think they listened to you, Hanauer. I think they did. Coming through the upper corner now, the Winston Eagle is on lap number 4. One more to go as she takes the green flag on this one. The Winston now has the lead. Let's check the speed across the line. They have flattened it down just a little bit, it looks like. Across the line, Winston Eagle comes in, yes, at 140 miles an hour this time, down about 4 miles an hour from the last time around. And the Miss Budweiser goes across at 137. Meanwhile, you are strung out for third place. The third place boat overall is the Pepsi American Spirit, and she's a half a course length ahead of the fourth place boat, the Oh Boy Oberto Wild Waves Miss KUB, the pork jerky boat. And so that's the way it goes. And trailing is the auto-powered boat that's really laboring quite hard to get around the race course now at all.
It is. You know, I think what they need to do on that American Spirit boat is get the front end up out of the water a little bit. It's pounding very hard on the front end. And if you watch the Winston boat and the Budweiser boat, they seem more delicate on the water, a little more dainty, and I think that's what the American Spirit has got to shoot for.
All right, negotiating the Oh Boy Oberto, which is going dead in the upper turn. Here comes the Winston Eagle to take the checkered flag and victory in Heat 1A of the 1991 Rainier Club. Here he comes across the line, and he does so at 136 miles an hour. The Budweiser just a few seconds back at 136 as well. Tried to make up some ground there on that last lap, but was unable to catch the Winston Eagle. Pretty much as you would have predicted, I think, Chip.
I think so, and it's important that the Winston Eagle win every heat that it can. It's behind in national points. I know what that feels like, and you look at every heat as an opportunity to close up that national championship race. The Budweiser, this hurts to lose this.
You just saw on the screen the Winston Eagle owner, Steve Woomer, shouting to one of his crew members as he brings his little lift down from the top of his van to go celebrate with his crew. Here coming across the finish line now is the Pepsi American Spirit last lap for that boat, 123 plus miles an hour.
Right, as you see that boat on your screen, notice how hard it hits on the front end. And when you're in the cockpit, that's just like the boat coming to a stop. Every time those sponsons dig into the water, that knocks off 10, 15 miles an hour of speed. I hope they can get a little more air under that boat, give Mark a little more comfortable ride.
Well, they're celebrating down in the pit area. Ron Callan is down there, of course, with the Winston Eagle gang as they're coming back. And the Winston is the winner the first time out, and both the Winston and the Budweiser are cooling off and coming down, and now to go home, and they have given the first notice of the day to each other. Now let's go again.
Mark, real quick, tell us about Heat 1A.
Well, basically, the Winston Eagle had a good lane draw, and, you know, we let them going into the first turn and just kind of walked away from there. But it was a good heat for the Winston Eagle, and we're proud of it.
Well, Chip Hanauer mentioned that he thought you really took off. You got the throttle maybe a second and a half before the Bud did.
Well, it's hard to tell from being inside the cockpit. He's got a better viewpoint from there, but, yeah, you know, we got a good jump, I guess.
All right, congratulations, Mark. Let's head over to Steve Rabel.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. Scotty Pierce, Bernie Little here from the Budweiser camp. Tell me the kind of race that you wanted to run, and was this it that we saw out here this afternoon, first heat?
Well, everything was great, except I was in second instead of first. I didn't want that. But, you know, we have some things that we can do with the Budweiser. We're on the outside, and that's pretty tough. And, you know, I was making a run on them, and I had a little handling problem, and so I had to let them go a little bit. But, you know, I'm real proud of this group, and we're going to get this boat running. And the boss says it's going to stay on the water, and I'm going to be able to drive her, so it will.
Boss is Bernie Little, and Bernie, when the Eagle team was talking about they need to get all the points they can for the national point standing, you guys pointing for championship heats and the big point totals. Is that kind of the thinking as they pull the Bud over our heads right now?
Yeah, anyhow, needless to tell you that I told Scotty when he went out to take an easy second. If the first place was open for it, go for it. If it isn't, just bring it home in the second place. We're worried about the final. I don't want to tear it up out here in the second heat, but I'll damn well tear it up in the final.
Bernie Little, Scott Pierce, we'll see you out here in the next heat. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You count on that.
Wayne?
As far as the drivers are concerned, this is smoke from the air show that preceded this heat, Chip, and it is hanging around because that wind is shoving it into the race course on the south turn, and the buoys are rather fogged in from our vantage point.
Yeah, and that makes it tough. You know, when you're traveling at these boats with the piston engines, maybe 175, 180, they're very, very small, and when all that vibration, you add a little smoke to it, makes it hard to find that first corner.
All right, let's see if we're going to, we have a white flag out, so let's see if we're going to get a start. We have at least 3 together. Miss Rock is having a problem getting up there, and the Miss Go Bowling is already dead in the water and out of it.
The Miss Rock's lagging behind. It's going to really have to pick up the pace. The other guys don't seem to be waiting for it. I don't think the starter's going to wait for him if he's not up there next time around.
Yeah, they didn't get a start this time. We have 4 boats now going down into the lower corner together, and they're going to stay together, but it looks like Jack Barry's having a problem, and we do have on the back chute Miss Go Bowling with Jerry Hoff is going to have a tough time making this split. And he has a problem out there. The lid is up on that boat. I think Jerry is a no-show as far as this goes. Score him a did not start. Everybody comes through the lower corner together, still trying to bunch up, and I believe that they'll let them go this time, despite the fact that Jack Barry isn't going to be able to catch up to them. And they'll run about 110 to the line here.
The visibility out of these boats is not very good. It's very hard for the 4 drivers that are up to speed to know where Jack Barry is, to know that everybody's up there. They just kind of have to hope everybody's up there.
And it's going to be, I think, a start this time. They're having a little difficulty, of course, with the Miss Rock catching up, and they're just going to have to live with that reality. But the other boats are going to be ready to score up. And, of course, they don't want the water to chop up any more than necessary. It's chopped enough, and I think we're going to see a green flag this time.
It's going to be a good race. The Frosted Flakes has a bit of a lane advantage, and the T Plus is to the outside. So these two could get hooked up, and we could see a really good boat race.
Yeah, there's a good matchup horsepower-wise between both these race boats. Mike's going to be a little conservative, though. Let's see if they give them a start now as they come down the line. They have 4 of them side by side. They will. The green flag is out, and the Hyperloop puts the hammer down, and so does the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, and here they go into the first corner. It looks like Jim Harvey's boat with Steve David on board is going to have the advantage as they roll into turn number 1.
You know, the Frosted Flakes has got to do it right now. He's got to come out of this first turn with him, otherwise it's going to all be over, and it looks like he's going to come out of the corner with him.
He very definitely is, as we see it from the air. All those boats are side by side, 3 of them in there, and all of them challenging. Ken Muscatel, of course, in the KMPS Jackpot is the 3rd boat there. All right, on the outside, the Frosted Flakes now is taking the lead, and on the inside, the T Plus Hyperloop is rolling right alongside. The advantage, of course, RPM-wise goes to the Frosted Flakes, but lane advantage is on the inside, and Steve David has it. Oh, he's having a tough time holding it now. In fact, has flown to the outside, and it looks like he snuffed it as well. In fact, the T Plus Hyperloop is out of it. It's down on power.
It's all Kellogg's Frosted Flakes at this point. You know, that wasn't the T Plus that was inside of him. That was a piston boat.
That's right.
Running very, very well, and I think it speaks very highly of Mitch Evans that he was able to run side by side with a turbine boat, and if he hadn't hit that roller out there, I think he would have gone the distance.
And he's back up on power. Apologies to the T Plus folks there. You're still running, but you're in second, and you're running a distance now back behind the Frosted Flakes. First lap was 130 miles an hour for the Frosted Flakes. Second lap, or for second place, was 120. That's for the T Plus, so down about 10 miles an hour.
Folks, he saw a real driving display by Mitch Evans. He has a sword that's about 4 feet shorter than the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, and I think if he hadn't hit that roller, again, he could have gone the distance with him.
As a matter of fact, Mitch Evans hasn't given up yet. He's decided to go after a challenge for 3rd place, and he'd like to overtake Ken Muscatel in the KMPS Jackpot Foods, and he's going to try that. Here you see the Frosted Flakes now. Water's rough. The boat is taking some roller launching. And to lap number 2 for Frosted Flakes. The Kellogg's Frosted Flakes comes across the line at 126.4.
Here comes Mitch again.
And Mitch in the north turn rather is where it's at right now, and he overtakes the KMPS. There's the race there. And that boat on the inside, that's a piston boat overtaking a turbine here.
Mitch is a giant killer today, and now he's got his sights set on the Hyperloop T Plus with 3 laps or 4 laps remaining. I think he could reel him in.
It's possible to do that. In fact, he's running a 119.4, and the KMPS Jackpot Foods is running 113.8. And interestingly enough, the T Plus Hyperloop is running a 120 lap last time, so yes, he could reel him in, and he's working on him.
You know, Mitch and this whole crew, this is very, very antiquated equipment, and I have never, in all my years of boat racing, seen anybody make his little dollars go as fast as this crew does.
Tony the Tiger Tiger helping Mike Hansen out there as they come across the line in lap number 3. The Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, your leader at 132.2. And Mitch continues to try to reel in the T-Plus Hyperloop. The Hyperloop boat, the T-Plus with Teflon, is coming down and its lap number 3. Its speed considerably down off the lead lap at 119.3. Let's see what Mitch Evans coming across the Oh Boy Alberto Wild Waves with KUBE, the beef jerky. Yeah, he's running 119 to the 118, and so he is in fact reeling him in.
And remember, it's important for him to catch him because it's 2 boats that progress to the final. If he can't be one of the top 2 boats out of the slow flights, he's got to go to that last chance. They don't want to make that engine run any longer today than they have to, so he would love to get into second place.
And in that last chance, it may be the last chance also for the Super Range Golf, which could in fact wait till that time, and of course Mitch would have a tough time running against that boat. The end of lap number 4 now as the smoke clears off on Lake Washington. It is the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes out front. A nice comes across the line. Yeah, very nice boat ride. They glued it down beautifully. 130 miles an hour. 130.987 miles an hour for Mike Hansen. T-Plus Hyperloop remains in second, but is having a tough time with those rollers, pounding very far forward on the sponsons. Is Steve David now as he comes across the line at 121.621 miles an hour. The boat finally gets aired out as it gets down to the turn. Now here comes Mitch Evans across the line.
Don't think he can do it. It's just too late, and he's not going to be able to do it. You remember, the water that Mitch is running in is worse than the water that the Hyperloop T-Plus is, and as you go further back, that's just more wakes to run in. I just don't think he can do it in that kind of water.
Meanwhile, the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes is going to claim a checkered flag. Just a week ago, she was upside down in the final heat at the Columbia River, and now she's scoring the big points out front in this Heat 1B. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes across the line, and the crackling that the fans hear, that is not the engine, that's the sponsons whopping that water.
But what's impressive, all year long I've been hearing horror stories of how bad the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes rode, that it would spin out, that it would blow over. The boat ride I saw here looked pretty darn good to me, and I think they're going to be a factor come later this afternoon.
Across the line now, second place finisher it is, the Hilton Hyperloop T-Plus. Miss T-Plus comes across at 126, and Mitch Evans, recovering from that roller bounce in the first lap, is going to finish third place.
Oh, what could have been. I think you would have seen a real celebration, even though this wasn't the final. If he could have run deck-to-deck with the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes in this heat, you'd have seen a real celebration.
Well, there's always the next time around. He plans on hooking up again, and Kenny Muscatel comes across the line also, driving the Compass. The Jackpot Food Mart, he's in fourth place overall and gets scored. His speed 114.2, and he's running, by the way, competition laps much better than anything he's done so far in this boat.
Oh, that boat was so scary to watch last year. You just kind of cringed when it went out. But there's nothing wrong with this boat ride this year. It looks real good to me.
Chip, we do indeed. Mike Hansen just climbing out of the boat. Nice ride out there. A week ago, you're upside down. Now you're winning a heat.
Well, that's the way we wanted to do it. You know, we got to get right back on the horse and try to go out and win some heats and get enough points, get in the final, and try to win that too. So there was no sense of being gun shy. I know what the boat will do. We had a unfortunate mishap last weekend. Just hope we will avoid it this weekend.
You had some wet Bondo, some glue, fiberglass on the bottom. You're working right up to the time you put it in the water. Did that concern you at all, Mike?
Not really. I've seen how bad the Budweiser's gone race so far this year. They've gone with whole sides missing, so it didn't really concern me all that much. I just knew that if I put my foot down and drove a good race, we had a chance of winning, and that's what I wanted to do.
Tell us a little bit. We're watching you in action right now. Tell us a little bit about that start. How important for you and the rest of these boats out here is the start now, the way it's set up?
Oh, it's real important. The real important thing is to get a good lane draw. You know, if I'd have had Harvey's boat and Steve David on the inside of me, it might have been a whole different story. Fortunately, we were on the inside of him, and after the first lap or so, it wasn't really much of a challenge anymore.
All right, you take it out of the water now. You're going to look at it, see what went right, what went wrong, work on a little, get ready for the next heat, correct?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at it, make sure that rear sponson's all right, and sit down, have a bowl of Frosted Flakes, and get ready for the next heat.
You had Tony the Tiger and all the other folks over here cheering for you. Mike, nice driving.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wayne?